So here we're going to look at user management, and this is where the administrator of your network is able to add new users and manage the access of the users. So we have different types. There's coaches, there's athletes, and if you have family members enabled, you'll see those appear here as well. To begin with, just make sure that you have your organization selected in the top right hand corner, not your personal XPS login. And here we can use the search function if we need to search by name for our particular coaches or athletes, depending where we're working. We can also sort by clicking on a particular team here with the drop down menu. So if we wanted to find who's in team C, we can click on this here and access those athletes. You can see here in the columns which role and which groups that the athletes are a part of. And if we needed to manage that, we can always click on the name, right click, and then choose add to team or remove from team, which will give us our list, and we can decide to add or remove them. You also can change the role by clicking on the name here of the role. So if we wanted to change this athlete to no access, the role for that athlete's now changed. And we can see if we scroll across to the right, the different settings in detail depending on the type of role that they have. So if we go and look at the coaches, you'll see the administrator has full access to everything here, whereas the coaches with the edit role have edit instead of full access to a number of parameters. If we change to coach here from coach role to no access, you'll see all of those disappear. You can use the columns here at the top just by clicking on them to sort, depending on what you're looking for. And if we wanted to select multiple users, you can hold down Command or Control on Windows, or you might want to click and drag. Or if you want to select all, we can use Command A or Control A to select all the users. Right-clicking on a user, you have a list of options here in the drop-down. Most important is send login information. So if there's a scenario where you've set some accounts up but you haven't yet sent out the logins, we can hit Command A, select the whole team, right-click, and then we could send the login information to the whole team. If a player drops out of your squad or ends up leaving the club, you can right click on them and choose Deactivate, which will grey them out, and you'll get the license back to use for another person, but you still keep the player's data. That's the same for coaches as well. But if you wanted to remove the access of a coach to your organization, you can use the Disconnect Completely button. You can also set a deactivation date if you know someone's finishing in the future at a particular time. So let's go ahead and register a new coach user. We can click the green button at the top here to add a new user, or we can click Connect if we know that the user has an existing account, and we can search for them and invite them to join our network. So let's create one, register coaches, and I'm going to create a single user. Now I'll give this coach a name and an email. And you'll see that once I type in the name and email address, it fills out the login name and automatically creates a password. If we click next, it takes us to a window where we decide which teams do we want this user to be able to work within, and you can select multiple, and you can decide which role to give the coach. And if we don't have a team set up, you can use the new team button here to create one, but we recommend that you use the team section to manage that. So let's create this user. And the next step is that there is a message that you can send out to the user. You can copy the text here and you can paste that into your mail applications. You can also edit the template if you want to change what's included in the body of the message. But we recommend that you keep the login name and password links the same here, so they get the most important information. The other option is we can send the message directly using your personal email application. So this will open something like Mail or Outlook, or you can just choose to send it from Sideline Sports. But we recommend you let the user know that the email's coming, because it might go to their junk or spam. The other option we have is we can just close the message, and then we can decide to send the login details later on. So let's go ahead and create some athletes. And I'm going to click register, and this time we'll choose to create multiple users. And here we can decide what team we're going to have them join. So let's choose team B and decide which role they're going to have. So here I have a spreadsheet with the details for the athletes. So all I need to do is select the details I have and click copy. I can go back into XPS and click paste cells. And you'll see here that it's picked up the first name, last name and email, and it didn't pick up that I want to use the username and password cells. So I can select that I want this column to be the usernames and this column to be the passwords. Now we can change these once it's put in. If we decide that we want a different username, I can edit. But when editing the password, just make sure that it's a minimum of 8 characters and has at least one number. So let's go ahead and create these users. Now you'll notice that this error message has popped up here, and you might find this happens when you're creating athletes, and that's because this user already has an account with this email address, but it might be expired. So now we're going to extend the subscription, and then we can send them a message which allows them to log back into their account, and we can send that from Sideline Sports. So that user actually needs to accept the invitation in order to join. And we're going to just decide which team they joined. Same as before, Team B. And you'll see here that we're similar to before with the coaches. We have this pop-up window where we can send the account information. But because we're sending it to multiple, we don't have the copy text button. You can just use the preview button here to see exactly what the message is going to look like. You can copy it from here. So if we select all teams now and we look at the full list here, you'll see that there is a unknown waiting for reply for Athlete Jack. And that's because we've sent an invitation and we're waiting for that to be accepted. You also don't need to have the username and passwords created. Looking at our spreadsheet, if we just select the name and email address for those players and we hit copy, we go back and we register multiple athletes just like before. This time we choose to paste just with the name and email. You'll see that the system will automatically create the username and password for you, and then you can always go in and change the usernames to whatever you need them to be.